Yechi, hamelech, hamoshiach. Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about a couple interesting topics that have baffled the mind of mine. With God's help, we will go through all of them and hope you enjoy. Okay, the first thing I want to speak about is this amazing, we're continuing to talk about, just like we spoke in our other video, this amazing power that the people are receiving now with the election campaign in America. It's amazing to see government crumble and crush under tyranny, under dictatorship within the American people. The American people are slowly waking up. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about almost everything the government's doing. Starting with 9/11, there's now hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of videos that independent people have made, each one bringing forth as much evidence he can, whether it's the families of the people that were there, whether it's CIA people, whether it's FBI people, whether it's flight people, whether it's demolition people, each of which are bringing forward all the new evidence that they can muster to show that 9/11 was an inside job. What this basically says, in other words, and then you see, once you hear that, and once you understand that 9/11 was an inside job, and then you see how they bring out hundreds of thousands of times when governments have manipulated and lied to the people in order to carry out specific personal interests. And when you see this, and then you realize that this is what's been happening for ever since governments and dictatorships have been trying to control the people. So then it becomes clear in your head that you cannot trust human beings. And that for a believer, and that for someone who has ethics, is amazing. So let me give you one example. I'm not going to talk so much about the current government or whatever. There's no point. But I'm going to say that in Rome there was a Caesar, some big king or whatever, and he basically burned down a huge part of his country, blamed it on the then new terrorists called Christians, killed a bunch of them. I don't know what else he did over there. So he blamed the fire on a bunch of Christians, which was the new Al-Qaeda, if you may, at that time. Something that nobody knew too much about and whatever. Killed a bunch of Christians, blamed them for the fire, then built a huge palace on the property that was burned. So Kumtais comes out that those speculators and people that were around there basically said, okay, he planned the fire. He actually was seen running around telling people where to put the fire out. But no, he was conspiring the entire fire because he wanted that entire place to build his palace. So he blamed the Christians, took somebody else and blamed them. The people bought the narrative. Anybody that spoke against what he was trying to sell was right away condemned, prosecuted, whatever. So this is not really even the king's fault. This is not even the government's fault that they wind up into such disastrous situations. The reason why this is not the government's fault is because people will do what people do. Also, even if you have one righteous king or one righteous person within the group, he will have to end up sacrificing his righteousness for a cause of someone else. Why? Because this all goes down to the sin of Adam and Eve. This corruption starts and ends with the sin of Adam and Eve. The sin of Adam and Eve is basically the human people telling God, we're not interested in you being king here. God's like, listen, a good deed, this is what mitzvah gereris mitzvah, schar mitzvah mitzvah, schar avera avera. The reward of a good deed is the good deed itself. The reward of a sin is the sin itself. The sin itself was, we don't want God to be our king. That was the sin. What was the reward? The reward was, what was the sin? That the sin itself is the sin itself. the reward of the sin is the sin itself. Sorry for getting mixed up over there. Is the sin itself. You don't want God to be king? Okay, now God implemented a new law. It's called Shalata Adam Ba'adam. Man will rule man. Man will rule man. Once that happens, you know what happens? Exactly what's happening right now. Man rules man. This guy wants that. That guy wants that. He's called the president. He's called the lobbyist. He's called the donor. He's called the politician. He's called the big company. He's called the media. He's called YouTube. He's called Facebook. No, hopefully they're good guys. But when you have people, they'll run each other. Obviously, you're bound for corruption. You're bound for failure. You're bound for bloodshed. You're bound for thievery. You're bound for all the character traits that a person has in his gut. And that's why God never wanted this to be like this. He wanted to rule us, and He gave us the opportunity. And that's before the Adam and Eve, the sin of Adam and Eve. This world was in good hands when God was here. It was in good hands. Then we ruined it, and now we're paying for it every single day. When does this end? Exactly right now. You see now, people don't want to be ruled by other people. People are like, listen, you make mistakes, I make mistakes. We need somebody else that doesn't make mistakes. Okay, you can say, makes less mistakes. Habibi, you want God to run your life. And you want God to run your life because people aren't supposed to run people's lives. Once you get that down packed, you basically know everything you need to know about how this world's supposed to run. Now, the reason why, for example, Trump is doing so well is because he slowly but surely is saying the truth. And in Chassidus, in the secret learnings of the Torah, it's explained that you have vessels and you have light. And Trump is very, very good at one thing: not breaking the vessels with too much light. Meaning, slowly, it's like when you're educating a small child. You have to progress, and you have to break a lot of his things. You know, he thinks that he gets everything. He thinks that he's supposed to get everything. You slowly break these things, and you give him the right education. But you also don't break his will for life. You don't break him. So Trump is very good at that. Like, he'll say a little bit truth. He'll respond to those who are saying lies and trying to ruin his life on stage or in the debates or wherever, slowly, like a parent teaching his kids. He won't break them. He won't give them all the truth in the face, because then they will completely annihilate themselves, or they will completely disconnect from him. They will say, it's true, he's giving us, it's like you're giving water to someone, but you're giving it to him from a fire hose, and you go, and you give him a shot. He can't take it. You try to put a cup under a fire hose. So Trump is good at holding his ground, going, steadily moving forward in the direction of where the people need to go. At the same time, not breaking the system, meaning giving the system a chance to recognize why he's worth it and to bug off slowly and quietly. Now, you see, the system is going to have to understand it's over. It's over. The question is, do they want themselves hanging on the streets, beheaded by the ISIS that created them, or do they want to peacefully dismantle? This is the whole question here. The system, the corrupt system, every person in the world has to know, you're going to pay for all the things you did. The only thing that can stop that from happening is you repenting and quickly undoing all the things that you did as fast as you can. You killed somebody? Okay, now go work for 10 years and go give all that money to their family. Okay? Start giving it to them now. You stole from someone? Start paying him back. Go back and give him his stuff. You stole from a country? Give back to the country. God is so merciful and so complicated that He will give you the tools to redo to undo what you did and reconnect to whatever you were doing in a positive way. You will be given the opportunity if you're looking for it. So President Bush and all the Bush administration, Hillary, I'm talking about the big guys because they're just an example of the rest of us, because obviously whatever you see on top, that's what you see on bottom. So Bush and Hillary and anybody for that matter who feels that maybe I want to do good in the world. I'm sure you did a lot of good. The things that you didn't do good also need to be fixed. So fix them as fast as you can and consistently as you can. People will forgive you. God will forgive you. Because as long as you're ready to undo whatever you were doing, there is a way out. There is always a way out. There is no problem. Everything is fine. And there's just a slow procedure, which is basically start getting your head used to going right brain, positive thinking, everything will be okay. Let's try to shift gear into a positive light. And usually people that have a lot of power, and then they drift it into one direction and then they use it to the other direction, the advantage that the people have is much greater because you have already pushed yourself into a situation of power or a situation of corruption. Usually that situation itself will interpret itself into also the same way an opportunity to help the same people. So just open your eyes and see how you can repent in your own life. At the same time, don't get too depressed about it because, we have to move on. We have so much to do. We have to get moving. So that's about that. 9/11 conspiracy, definitely. There's 500,000 videos on YouTube proving it. What's it called? Vote Trump for sure, if any one of the candidates as far as America is concerned. But more importantly, vote the Rebbe Shlita Melech HaMoshiach.